joining, just kind of waking up, packing up, and making a cup of coffee here in Coda Brew. I made it to Coda Brew. Let me see who's in the chat room. Ali, nice to have you, young girl. Um, I think I missed you last. Was it last when you had do I don't know donate blood or something like that to get the free food? That's actually a very common thing in the United States for earning extra cash is donating plasma. That's the big thing in the United States. And once you have your blood test done and everything like that, like blood tests and stuff, it takes like a week or two. Then you can start consistently donating plasma. Is it once a week or something like that? And it gives you a little extra money, which is between $30 and $40, I think. Well, that was back then. I don't know what the going price is now, but it's a little extra way to actually. I don't know how much if they just give you candy over here for donating blood, but over there they actually pay you for the plasma, or you can donate for free too. You can always donate your blood for free. They're more than willing to always accept the free donation. So anyway, that was funny when you mentioned that because that's like a kind of like a hustle over there in the United States too. Um, so we made it to Coda Baru, which is the most northern city. There's probably a little small town right there by the border, but I made it actually to Coda Baru, which last time I didn't come this way because I was warned against it. That's how it is. You look it up. So I was warned that Coda Baru is more dangerous, and all this stuff. So when I was coming down from the good morning, CS. How you doing, my brother? So when I was coming down and I was getting ready to cross the border, I was trying to decide should I go to the east side, and because I still was planning on doing the circle around the peninsula. By the way, we made it. The long journey of going around the peninsula is done, and it's a really nice journey. But disclaimer. I don't. A lot of the stuff that you hear is just usually either old news or just untrue altogether. And I had that same situation when it came to everybody warning me about going into Singapore. Singapore was nice. It really was. But the way that people talk about it, it makes it sound like it's super expensive, and it's not. It's like half as expensive as United States. I mean, for Malaysians and stuff, and if you're from, I mean, when you do a comparable study, yeah, Singapore's the most expensive over here, but it's not like. I'm almost positive if you go somewhere like New Zealand, it's going to be more expensive, but. They do have the touristy areas to catch you. So I think Coda Baru's got an old reputation or something. Yeah, it might be more conservative, but that's when in Rome, do as the Romans, just, be more conservative. When in Singapore, just follow the rules, It's not, the only people that are worried about being policed too hard is if the rules are bad, And I don't see that Singapore has bad rules, laws. It's just the fact is you just follow them, If you agree to be here, then you agree to, and I think that's, so if you go to the United States, we are policed a lot harder. You look and you see police on every corner, and they want to talk to you, just to talk to you. And as soon as they talk to you, it's to try and figure out if they can arrest you for something. So you don't want to talk to the police in the United States. No, it's just because one, they lie to you. Two, they're just looking to arrest you for something. So the best thing to do is to say, hey, am I being detained for anything? No. Okay, so am I free to go? And they go, well, if they're not being detained, yes, of course you're free to go. Turn around, walk off, don't talk to them. Now, that's just the majority of them. That's not, and that's the truth. That's just the majority of them. There's some really good cops out there, but it's just, So, when I do a comparable study, Singapore is not that bad. But that's just from a one-day experience, and I can't tell you for a fact if I'm there longer, I might get arrested for something. I don't know, for something stupid. But so anyway, why did I mention all that? Kota Bru has a very bad reputation of being the most dangerous spot in Malaysia, so which caused me to go over to the west side. and go around that way. There's a little bit of a vibe shift here in the more conservative areas, but that's, there's still very friendly people and stuff like that. So I'm gonna take it as hype. You know, I don't think maybe Coda Brew actually deserves that reputation, but I could be wrong. So anyway, yes, I've been warned about Coda Brew. If anybody mentions it, um, KB has many beautiful temples. Do miss them. You mean do not miss them? Okay, do miss them. You could cross into Thailand and do a border run again for 3 months. Yeah, but so CS, I got to start traveling again. Honestly, this will be the longest I've been in. Hey, Doug's here. Uh, Doug says, I'm here hanging out, replying to comments on my channel while your live streaming is up in another window. That's cool, brother. It's nice to have you here. Hey, Flea, good morning. Yeah, so I could actually go into Thailand and do another border crossing because within the year I have one airplane and one land crossing. So I'm still allowed another land crossing. So 2 land crossings and yeah. So but they cut you off after 2 land crossings within a year's time. So but I want to actually start seeing some of the other surrounding countries like Indonesia and stuff like that and start checking it off because I am still here to try and slowly explore the whole world, do the vagabond of the world. So I pretty well, now there is still part of Malaysia I haven't seen yet, and I will see it. The East Island, Malaysia. I got to go over there. But I'll get over there when I'm doing Indonesia too. So I'm planning on getting off on the Sumatra side, go over to the west side, which is about 330 kilometers still. So don't worry, guys. This is not the ending point. So anyway, stop. Congratulations. We all made it. That was a journey. And we still have plenty of time on the we still have plenty of time on the visa without having to worry about doing a crossing into Thailand. Like I said, I still have one if I wanted to, but yeah. So that part of the journey, so I can just slow down and just kind of waste the rest of my visa. That's what I'm planning on doing. Get over to the west side and just kind of waste my visa. That way I'm near the ferries and stuff when it is time to go over to Sumatra. And from there, I'm at one of those places. So I'm at one of those places where I'm trying to figure out, do I want to keep doing the bicycle vagabond, and do I just want to explore the whole world by bicycle? And I've done the bicycle long enough now, right? What started as I don't know if I could do it, and this all starts because you don't know if you can do something, but it really relies on how determined you are. So, like I said, determination mixed with stubbornness makes a great combo for bicycling across the world. Because I think that's the only reason I kept going is because I'm too damn stubborn to, like when I have set something as a goal, I don't want to give up on it. So, yeah, it's just stubbornness. It's one of those things where if I start, and it's dangerous too, because if I start walking down a trail, right, or I'm bicycling somewhere, and I see a nice spot, right, I'm like, well, this one spot is not bad, but what about this spot maybe 5 kilometers farther? Well, if I just go that 5 kilometers farther, I'm not going to turn around and come back, because to go backwards means I'm not doing that forward progression. So that's what I mean by stubbornness. So if I'm walking on a trail and it's getting dark and I know I need to turn around and go back, but I think it's only about 5 more kilometers to get to the end, that's how I got not lost, but that's how I got stuck on that hill, trying to figure out how to get out, which trail to take to get off it on the right side. I got off it. I just got off on the wrong side of the town. I was on the opposite side. I needed where I parked my bike. Yeah, I like candies once in a while. Chew on. I'm not against sweets, but the Mentos are obviously the cheapest here. So I'm more like I pick up the Mentos once in a while just to have something. That one had vitamin C in it. So I was like, vitamin C, I'll try it, right? So I grabbed it just because it said vitamin C. Some of the candies in Japan that I don't see too much here, I see the Himalayan salts, which I like, and those are kind of like the salt candies in Japan. But the salt candies in Japan had potassium in it, these salts and all these stuffs is for dehydration because dehydration is really bad in Japan. Um, I guess their people suffer from I mean, usually you see in Japan they're like covered head to toe, just like no parts of their skin is even exposed to the sun. And someone says because they have smaller sweat pores or something, and so they don't cool down. Their core temperature heats up too fast. But that's probably just a bunch of BS, and I just stated it like it's fact. Yeah, okay, so this one was the hotel. I mean, no, I'm not. Here, actually, I can do this. All right, so there's my view, guys. It's a restaurant across the way. I chose this one because it was $5, and and it's not too bad for $5, but $8 after tax. So the main thing is it's got AC that works. It's got a real shower, so like a real shower, right? Uh, I'm just sticking the selfie stick in. Toilet paper, soap. So not bad for $5, but I'm packing up everything because because it went from $5 to $8 plus with that 3 ringgit tax. So basically, it's going from $8 to $11. So I'm packing up my stuff because there's cheaper spots out there. There's actually a town. So since I came all the way up to Kota Bru, I have to leave Kota Bru by going south again. So, but if I would have just cut off and started going towards like Georgetown, is the west coast side. That's the straight shot all the way across. And then to see Ali, I'll have to actually go north when I get over there to go up to her town. But the straightest shot's to shoot for Georgetown. But I didn't want to cut off Kota Bru because, like I said, I'm stubborn. So, if I cut off Kota Bru, to me, I didn't complete the whole peninsula, and I didn't see all the places. So now there's a lot of spots I didn't see, like in the center. I missed everything in the center of Malaysia. I know that, but that's a lot more mountainous. Roads to take and stuff like that. And I'm sure if you just ask Doug, he doesn't mind going through the mountains on his bicycle. So every spot I miss, just tell Doug to do it. He's starting enough right now. Tell him to climb the big old mountains and go to those real small little mountain towns. Anyway. Yeah, so I did. I cycled from Vietnam all the way, and I actually took the long route through Cambodia, the coastal route through. So I took the coastal route through Thailand, did the islands, which I then took a train back up north to where I took the islands out, just so I made sure that I did the whole coastal route. And so then I actually crossed over to the other side of the coast to do a different island. So I was doing island hopping a little bit in my earlier times. It really depends on how much it costs to get over there and if it's part of the route or not. So anyway, so yeah, it's actually more than anything. It's 8 months of, I think it's close to around 8 months now of just riding a bicycle all the time. But thing is um, uh, I think tenacious, resolute, and determined is a better way um, to describe it. Yeah, I would describe it that way, but I'm stubborn, so I'm not going. I'm just joking. Let's see. Yeah, let's see if Planet Doug cycles too. Yeah, so I'm super interested to see. So Josh is still missing in action, as far as I know. I haven't heard an update from him yet. Matt, you can please mention if you get word of anything. But so he's still missing in action. So Doug's going to be starting his cycling trip here pretty soon. So I'm actually very interested in actually watching some of that. Um, Today is a public holiday. CS mentions today's a public holiday. So it so happens to be a birthday of the Sultan of uh, Kelantan. Kelantan, okay. And this is, it says, "Hi Daniel and Doug, this is Habib from US, not in KL right now." Okay. From the US, like United States, I'm assuming, or are you, is that the initials for a different part of Malaysia that I don't know of? $5 for is yeah, yeah, no, it's not bad. So the um, Habib, I'll just call you Habib because your handle's a little hard. Um, yeah, $5 not bad. Like I said, they go up to 8, but then I could just go somewhere else in the same town and get one for 6. So I'm cheap. So I just had to go ahead and pack up my bags because after the tax it'd be $11, and a little south from here there's a lot of 20 ringgit spots. So 30 ringgits after all the taxes we pay. Um, I was thinking. I was thinking that it's a good price too. I saved the hotel's name and location, Kota Peru. Um, yeah, so it's not bad. I mean, toilet paper. Now the complaint is it's dusty, and it is a little dusty. Like they don't hit the high places and stuff like that. But dusty doesn't mean dirty, you know. So the sheets smelled clean. You know what I'm saying? They're not brand new. They're not spanking new. So I think a lot of times you get complainers, people that must, you know, it's like they moved out of their mom's house, so they're used to their mom, you know, cooking them dinner and cleaning their room, and then when they go out into the travel world, they expect the same luxuries of being at their parents' house, and they're just a bunch of little complainers, and they need to toughen up. But you know that's just my opinion because yeah, but I'm a little more rough around the edges. But that's the way I like it. You know, I don't feel comfortable in rich places. Honestly, I don't. So if a spot starts feeling like a little too high class, I'm like, nah, this is not me, right? And it doesn't mean I've never had money. Uh, when I was working in Las Vegas, I had the nice car. I had the place I was living, which was still I was still at the age where you still have roommates, you know, just to have someone around to talk to when you're single, you know, because you start when you're in your younger life having a roommate to make it financially, you know, make sense. But then maybe one of the guys that you're working with bought a house and he's living in there with his dog and he's really just bored. He doesn't have anybody to talk to and stuff. And since you work with him, he goes, hey, you know, this was what happened with Guillermo, one of my guys that I worked with. I was coming over to his house all the time. We were just drinking all the time because it was me, his roommate. He had two roommates actually, and it wasn't really because he couldn't afford the house, although that helped pay for his mortgage. His fact is you're young, single, you want other young single guys around you and stuff, so you can drink beers with them, and you can just basically. So it becomes more like almost like a college thing, but it's at work. You know what I'm saying? It's like living in a college dorm, but you're not living in a college dorm. You're living in someone's house, and you guys are all working together at the same casino. So financially, it's like that's how when you're younger you still do that. So I had the nice car and all this, but I lived in a house even though it was owned by someone else, and we were living together. And eventually that stopped when it's fiance or whatever. That's when they're like, no, you can't have a roommate anymore. You got to move in with me, and that's when everything falls apart. Because I was a heavy drinker, so I was a super heavy drinker, especially in Vegas. So that doesn't work well on relationships. So, being such a heavy drinker in my younger life, any type of relationship I did get into didn't last too long because I was only really thought about the bottle and myself. And if you started getting between me and the bottle, well, then you had to go. And that's kind of like how most of the relationships are. So I usually chose them. And I was like, and so anytime I mention a fiance or something, that was because I thought I had to live up to that reality of everybody needs to get a job, get a car, have a place to live, and get a wife, get a house. They called it the American dream, but I realized I was doing something that I didn't really want to do. I wanted to be a vagabond instead. So here I am. And that's why I can travel, is because I'm not married and I don't have kids. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's just a lot of people are surprised at my age. I don't have kids and I don't have, yeah. And that's just, I lucked out. I'm one of the lucky ones that don't have those financial burdens of being a wife and kids are financial burdens. I'm not saying bad burdens. They're just a burden that you have to think about first. Well, let's not call them a burden. Financial responsibilities. I'm sorry, not to say burdens, but so yeah, you can't live this life and have a wife and kids because you need to be working if you have a wife and kids, and you need to be taking care of those kids until they're old enough to, get a job on their own. Like 8. Get out there and start working. So anyway, let's see. Connecticut. Okay, you're over in Connecticut. Okay, Habib is in Connecticut. I say the hotel's name. So, Doug, there's several of them over here for like the $6 range. That's why I'm getting ready to move out. And there's a live premiere I set for 11 o'clock. So we'll make sure not to go over too much longer here. That way it gives me a little time to pack up the rest. And since I haven't really seen any of Kota Baru yet, I might just switch. I'm a little on the outskirts of town. Yeah, although there's a really good restaurant right down the way down here, in a walking distance almost. Well, no, I wouldn't call it walking, bicycling distance. I still want to get a little more into town, and there's some $6 places, but for the price, this spot's not bad at all. So, we just missed to see you, Daniel. Can I say Dan? Yeah, you can call me either one. We just missed to see you, Daniel. Can I say Dan? If you want to say Dan, go ahead. I go by Daniel. There's a reason behind that because my name's Jason. So, you're like, what? Yeah, so my name's Jason. So, but my middle name's Jason. But it's my family always called me Jason. My friend, so I was introduced to my friends as Jason. So everybody called me Jason. But when I got into the work world, instead of, they have a name tag or whatever, you get a name tag, they always print out your first name, Daniel, unless you request Jason, and then they go, why does your name tag say Jason if your name's Daniel on paper? And then instead of trying to explain this every single time, I just started going by Daniel just because it was for convenience reasons. And then I realized it was better than convenience reasons because if I be at home on my day off, having a beer and the phone rings, that's back in the days it was a phone that you either picked it up off a wall or picked it off, well, no, by this time it was like wireless, but it was still a landline, right? You pick it up and you're like, hello, right? If you didn't let your answer machine answer, but you answered your phone because it might be a friend, right? You don't want your friend to get the answer machine all the time. Say hello, and they were like, yeah, is Daniel there? Well, if they asked for Daniel, I knew that it was either work-related, bills, or the police or something, right? So I'd be like, no, he's not. Can I take a message, right? If they asked for Jason, I knew it was friends or family. So it became very convenient for me just to go by Daniel in the work world. Well, that I spent so much time over there in Vegas in the work world that it just Daniel just kind of stuck, So I ended up starting introducing myself as Daniel, and that name just slowly took over. But originally, and so when people go Dan, well, Dan felt weird because Daniel felt weird. Just the name Daniel felt weird because my name's Jason. So I preferred to go by the full name, Daniel, instead of Dan. Because Dan just sounded like, Bookham Dano and, Dan the man. And, so I was like, just call me Daniel. But do I care? Nah, I don't care. You can call me Dan if you want. It makes it easier. Because but I'm used to Daniel, so now it's funny. So it's like it doesn't ring as weird, But for the longest time, it rang weird, But now if someone says Jason, I'll still respond to Jason, but not as much. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've gone by Jason. So the reason why is Daniel from the Bible, right? Daniel from Daniel from the Bible was. My mom wanted to call me that, and then my dad wanted to call me Jason, a Greek name, because of Jason and the Argonauts, the movie. And my dad's stubbornness won out, and so I became known as Jason and the Argonauts. So I have a biblical name and a pagan name. So that was his favorite movie at the time. Bless you. Stayed in the hostel, and I stayed in a hostel in Sultan. Let me see. Try and get. It's right behind that little button. I can't see what it says. My friend slept on a beach in Pentaya. Yeah. Okay. So let me do a comparison real quick because in 2 minutes I want to try and close this down. So I started this journey not knowing if I could do this journey, so I bought a cheap bicycle. Now, you see other people, they have like $1,500 bicycles, which in ringgits that would be like 6,000 ringgit, right? These people have to ship that everywhere. If something goes big wrong with the bicycle, it's still worth so much money that they can't just throw it away. They got to ship it back to the United States. The United States, just to get the body across the water, is like $900, right? To 1,000. So just think of the bicycle, So there should be no reason to stop you if you want to do a journey like this. The only thing that's going to stop you is yourself, and maybe if you have a job. But you can go buy a cheap bicycle, something that you don't mind giving to a kid if you don't want it anymore. And you don't have to pre-plan anything. So for the last 8 months, I haven't been pre-planning anything. I wake up in the morning, I look at Google Maps, and I go either north, east, south, or west. And the only reason I get on Google Maps is to know which road I'm going to be taking, the most direct, straight route there is. And you don't really need a lot of money because it's, so I've showed pretty well all the cheap spots that are $10 or less. There's only once or twice that I really had to break that rule. And the camping, if you have a tent, I'd probably suggest a tent. Honestly, just be factual, a tent would be a lot easier, a little two-man. And I mean two-man, that way you can kind of sleep sideways, and what they call two-man is really just a one-man. If you sleep diagonal, you have a spot for maybe your coffee on the one side and your backpack on the other side. I would probably suggest getting, because those are lightweight, and those would be a lot easier than a hammock. A hammock is way more pickier. Now, with that said, I do appreciate and I do like hammock camping. I really do. But if it's gonna come to the ease of setup and stuff, and the flexibility, a tent is better. Minimalistic is just a tarp, but now you have to get into tarp configurations, and so honestly, a cheap little $30 tent, so 120 ringgit tent, should be just fine, and just buy it new. I wouldn't be, the reason why you don't want to buy a used tent, because usually they're used, they're donated and stuff, because either the seams leak. I've had some really bad leaking tents in the past that I actually had to waterproof myself, and or it's already pre-ripped or something, and they don't, so just get a new one. It's worth the, you can get them for really cheap, and you can hit the road and just be very minimalistic. You don't need all the pannier bags. I didn't get these right here, which were cheap. I think these were I'm trying to remember how much they were. They were around the 60 ringgit. So yeah, they were cheap. These were really cheap. They're like at Decathlon, and Decathlon has some cheap bicycle park. So just start pedaling. If you have the time, you have the effort. It's not hard to do these things. It really isn't. People are like, oh, didn't you get tired? No, if you get tired, then you just don't move for a day or two. The only thing that slows you down is the weather, and but there's nothing hard to doing 30 kilometers each day on a bicycle. You just have to be determined. Now, if you don't like it, you're not having fun, then don't do it. I honestly, the difference between Vietnam and Cambodia is night and day. But then Cambodia was hot as hell. Almost took me out several times, so that wasn't that fun either. But I was just determined to keep doing it. So from traffic to heat, and then it started getting more enjoyable in Thailand and obviously Malaysia, especially on the east side over here. It's a lot more camping. So Malaysia, west side, really awesome if you want to see the cheaper spots to stay and you want to see the big buildings. KL has some beautiful buildings. I was super stoked about seeing that. But if you want the more laid back, like friendly town vibe, so city vibe west side, town vibe on the east side. The east coast shouldn't be overlooked as much, and the signal's good enough, So I just ran the whole east side. The signal is good enough that to justify coming out here. I mean, your self signal to justify coming out here and actually just checking out the whole east side. I very much enjoyed it, but it's not as developed as much. So you're not going to get the big fancy hotels and stuff. You're going to be doing a lot more camping, but there's a lot more camping areas. I mean, I had no problem on this side finding camping. So that's the way I really liked it, and that's why to me I preferred the east side, because compared to the west side, because the west side's more like if you're taking a bus to bus, if you're busing up and down and stuff. Yeah, the west side's pretty good because you're going city. But me, I prefer the camping, so the east side kind of rocked. So anyway, that's my summary of the trip. Yeah, and it's a good trip all the way around. Most people only do one side or the other side, hit Singapore and continue on. I'm probably one of the few that decided, well, I'm not going to state that as fact, but probably one of the few that hit Singapore and went back up. So, and it's awesome. I know one guy said he's about ready to do it on scooters, so he appreciated my videos. I think that's awesome because that actually what makes me feel good about actually filming these things is when people go, hey dude, thank you so much, now I know where to go and what to do and stuff like this. So I get inspiration to keep going when someone mentions something like that. So good luck on your scooter journey, man. It's awesome. It's a good trip. People are really friendly. Food's really good, and it's very very affordable to make the trip all around, especially if you stay in the spots that I do. Okay, let's see. I watched our. Let's see. I watched your 10-minute. Oh, last night, and it is the biggest ghost town. Your videos so far. What a waste of money. Yeah. Okay. So that's premiering here in 25 minutes, guys. Is the ghost town one that Lee just actually mentioned? It's a Taman. It's ILMU, but when they're together, it looks like IIMU, so it's Ilmu. It's a listed as a ghost town, and that's when I woke up alongside the main road there, uh, where I was camping. I got up and, like I said, start the day by looking on Google Maps and figuring out where I'm going to go, which route I'm going to kind of take, and it said ghost town because it just looked weird. Because if you look on Google Maps, the roads are going circles, you know, kind of like a, I don't know, a caboose or something like that, you know, like that they had they're making back in the communist days or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's like the circles. And so that's a kind of a strange layout for roads and stuff. Uh, so when I looked at it, it's like ghost town. I was like, what? And there's a big structure. I mean, big. So the closer I got and more I got into it and looking, I didn't go all the way in because I was pressed on time. I already wasted a few hours just trying to get in, right? Trying to figure out how to get in. And I don't think they have all the roads blocked off. Anyway, I won't. And so I went road, 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 road. Eventually, I just had to hop one of the barriers. Um, but yeah, it's huge. And I think what it was it was going to be a huge mosque, a big, big, beautiful mosque. And they just ran out of money. But they went full force and, you know, all money straight ahead, and they tried to develop all of it all at once, and they probably ran out of money. Instead of like developing here and building on, you know, around, they just try to, this is what I'm assuming, because it's still not in bad condition. I mean, it is now, but you can see that it's not like super falling apart, which it will pretty soon because just time, and you know, it's going to be reclaimed. The only thing that was out there is the farmers, some of the dirt guys on their scooters get around the barriers and bring their cows out there to free graze and stuff. But yeah, so that video will be up here in 20 minutes, guys. There'll be a premiere, so I'll join you while I'm packing up the rest of my stuff. And so get ready, Ali. I'm heading over towards your neck of the woods and coming to visit you. So, but that's still 333 kilometers, or 300. Let's just call it 340 kilometers to get to Georgetown. Then I have to go north. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there and hop off, get the rest of my stuff packed up, and double check what time checkout time is. Most of them are 12 o'clock now, but some of them are still 11 o'clock. All right, guys, we made it. Go to Baru. Now back over to the west side.